On with me now, I have Kevin Noon with BuckeyeHuddle.com here to talk a little bit about the Ohio State Michigan the game, not any game, the game this weekend. It is going to be a big one. We've got two undefeated teams, number 2 and number 3 in the rankings. How are you doing, Kevin, with such a big week ahead of you?
Yeah, it's been a lot of running around, and with Turkey Day in the middle of the week, I'm the goose that's getting cooked this week, trying to get ready for the game 2 versus 3. It's going to be a big one at Ohio Stadium.
You said that you just got done with media day. How was it?
I mean, it was fine. I mean, we got to talk to Ryan Day, defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, and about 7 players, and nobody was going to give anything away. I mean, that's the thing. But I was also up at Michigan's media day on Monday, so the tone here was a little bit different. The tone really was that, the loss last year left a lot of scars, and that Ohio State certainly is focused on doing whatever it takes to win the game. And that's not to say that Michigan isn't focused to win the game as well, but when you're the team that's coming in off of the loss, it's a lot more personal. There's a lot more hurt behind it, and it seems that everybody has a laser-like focus for the game.
What's the atmosphere like there in Columbus right now as everybody's gearing up for the Wolverines to come to town?
Yeah, people are very excited about it, but I mean, I think that there's also a measure of nervousness because Ohio State has been so banged up with injuries. But then again, Michigan's got a lot of injuries that it has to deal with as well. But I don't think anybody felt last year that Ohio State was going to fall at Michigan. So now that that has happened, now that Ohio State's gigantic winning streak over the Wolverines is snapped, I think that you have a lot more of the nervous, pessimistic Buckeye fans that are concerned that the sky has fallen and that it's all going to go downhill. So you have a little bit of infighting amongst fans just on what they think is going to happen.
Well, speaking of injuries, it's pretty much up in the air right now whether Michigan's running back Blake Corum is going to be playing in this game. How big of an impact would that make if he is not playing?
It'd be a huge impact because you also have to remember that their number 2 running back, Donovan Edwards, has missed a couple of games with a hand injury, and his status hasn't exactly been updated. But Blake Corum is the main weapon there. I mean, just in terms of the offense in general, the passing offense is efficient enough where it needs to be, but doesn't really have a big downfield game. Whereas the running game with Corum, I mean, he's getting the ball 30 plus times a game. And if you take him out of the equation, and then you either have a 70% Donovan Edwards or you don't have Edwards at all, and then you're down to freshman CJ Stokes and fourth stringer Isaiah Gash, that's a big difference for what they're going to have to go out there and try and accomplish. But Ohio State's not going to prepare any differently. They're preparing for everybody to play at 100%. And then if somebody's not out there, then you just make the adjustments needed at that point. But I think if you don't have Blake Corum, they're going to have to rely a lot more on JJ McCarthy and him being able to throw the ball around. And as I had said earlier, the downfield passing game has just not been there so far this year.
What will it take for Ohio State to get this win?
I think Ohio State just has to play a smart game. I think that they have to win in the trenches, and that's a big, that's kind of a big if because Ohio State's been a little inconsistent in the trenches. Michigan has a tremendous offensive line. The defensive line is led on the inside with somebody like Mozzie Smith, as opposed to last year where it was David Ojabo and it was Aiden Hutchinson. But if Ohio State's able to run the ball, if Ohio State's able to just get somewhat of a running game, they don't have to run for 300 in this game to win the game. But as long as they have enough running offense to give CJ Stroud some time to not allow the Wolverines to just completely sell out against the pass, I think that the Buckeyes have a very good shot. Uh, it's one of those games though where when I was an undergraduate at Ohio State, Ohio State took the better team into the game multiple times, and I watched them lose. But this time around, I think it's going to be Ohio State's turn to get back in the win column.
How does this Ohio State offense stack up against the Michigan defense?
I think that the biggest concern again is going to go back to the running because Michigan is so good against the run, even though Illinois was able to exploit some things, especially in the second half of that game with Chase Brown. But if Ohio State is able to get somewhat of a running game going, I think it fits up pretty solid. Michigan is still pretty good against the pass, but Ohio State's passing offense, when you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, guys like that. Notice I'm not talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba because I'm not expecting him to play. Um, I think that there are very few teams that can have a lot of success there if Ohio State is truly two-dimensional in the game.
It is a big game for sure. What is on the line for these two teams?
Well, they're both 11-0. The shot to Indianapolis to go to the Big Ten championship game is on the line. Um, the easier path to the college football playoff is on the line. And if Ohio State does not win this game, then Michigan has two in a row. And then with the COVID year where they didn't play, you have a whole roster of players that doesn't know what it's like to beat Michigan. And with the game going back to Ann Arbor in 23, I mean, that's a big deal. But on the other side, Ohio State can kind of cut this Michigan renaissance off in the bud if it's able to win this game. Try and sit there and say, I mean, even though they would never come out and say it outright, that 2021 was just a bit of an anomaly, and the balance of power is back where it needs to be.
All right, well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want you to give me a score prediction.
I have given multiple score predictions throughout the week, and none of them have been the same because you got to catch me in the moment. I think when it's all said and done, I like Ohio State to win this one 35-24.
All right, we're writing that down. We'll check back next week and see if you were right.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Kevin.
Anytime.